So what's happening, my kings and queens? I wanted to talk to you today about the 80-20 nutrition rule. So these are some very basic guidelines. I didn't create them. I find that from my own personal nutritional needs combined with the flexibility that I need to have some of the indulgences, if I may, that we may want to have occasionally. I find that when I look at nutrition as 80% of some of the best decisions that I can make, whether it's for breakfast, whether it's for lunch, whether it's for dinner, whether I'm only having breakfast and lunch, right, which happens from time to time. We're going to get into intermittent fasting in the next video. But for now, 80-20 is a lifestyle much more than it is a diet, right? So I'm not a big fan of diet. Diet, when we think about time, is a very concentrated interval of time, right? You might have a switch up in your diet because you're getting married and you want to fit into your wedding gown. You might have summertime creeping around the corner, and you're going to be on the beach, and you're going to be in a bathing suit, and you want to look really good. Great. So there's seasonal things that we could do that might be a little bit more along the lines of 90-10, or even 100% of the time you're making the best choices possible. But for every day, right, if we want to be in the flow with our nutrition and not feeling as though we are being burdened or stripped or deprived of the normal things that we enjoy, I always push 80-20. So as I said, 80% of the time you are locked in. Okay, we are making amazingly high quality choices for ourselves regarding our nutrition. So this means that we're making sure that we're minimizing processed foods. So we're eating our meats, we're cooking them with just the most basic ingredients possible. We're talking salt, we're talking garlic, we're talking onions. We want the add-ons, okay, to our protein, to our meat dishes, to be clean. We want them to be organic. All right, this is our chance, this is our opportunity to invite the building blocks of muscle and conditioning into our being, so that way when we're chiseling out the desired aesthetic that we want, that we have a greater chance of accomplishing that. And this is what I want for you. I want you to understand that in order for you to look the way that you want to look, there's a certain amount of sacrifices that have to be made. And this is right up there. Okay? We're talking nutrition. We're talking about the choices that we're making with the foods that we're putting into our mouths. They're good. We are what we eat. Right? So if you're someone that is super high on processed foods and sugar, then you are going to get a body that looks like someone who enjoys processed foods and sugar. Okay, so we don't want that. I'm putting you through all of these programs, right? My 12-week programs. It's an interval of time that we take to go anywhere from 80 to 100% in terms of what our nutritional requirements are, right? So if we're working out 4 or 5 times a week, then we need to make sure that we're having our protein, okay, which means that we're going to be eating lean meats. We're going to be avoiding things like fried foods, okay? We're going to make sure that we're having complete meals where we're having great high quality sources of protein, whether it's poultry, whether it's fish, whether it's red meat. And I eat all of that. All right. I advise people, when you're in your 80%, try not to limit yourself. All right. I'm not a vegan, right? I do have some days where we do vegetarian. So vegetarian allows for the consumption of things like eggs, which allows us to pull in some of the highest quality vitamins and minerals from our food. This is very important. I like real food. I don't like fake food. Okay, this is why I did vegan for a whole year, right? And I'll tell you, it was a very eye-opening. It was a needed experience. I needed to feel what it felt like to be in this industry and to feel what it is, so I can have a conversation about it because I felt it. And I'll tell you, I did a year of it, and there were some positives where I felt a lot lighter, right? I was able to move around a lot better. A lot of complications in my skin improved, but I lost a ton of weight, a ton of weight. And to me, if that's your plan, to just lose tons of weight and strip down all the muscle that you worked hard to build up, then I get it. Go for it. But also to say that a vegan diet is healthier is very, very difficult to say, especially in this Western culture. Okay, we don't have access to some of the best, fruits and vegetables. We just don't. Okay, you go to your supermarket, you want organic fruits, you want organic vegetables, you're going to be paying top dollar. Okay, so to live off of that completely 100%, the amount of food that you would need to sustain is a lot more than what we have in our wallets. Okay, and you know, we want to be able to take advantage of all of the foods that are available to us. All right. And we want to try to avoid certain foods in excess, right? So we're not going to do tons of red meat, right? We're going to have some red meat maybe once, maybe twice a week. You know, I encourage people minimize things like pork. All right, so I do a little weekend bacon here and there, and I would say try to minimize that as much as possible. You've got those nitrates that are in the food, and that has been known to be a carcinogenic, right? So in heavy doses. So you want to be careful with some of the meats. Fish typically is some of the easier uh, uh, meat to process, right? So to circulate through our body and for our body to break down, it takes less time for that fish to move through your body. The problem with that is you want to make sure that you're not getting farm raised fish. Farm raised fish is going to give you a lot more of indigestion. It's going to put you in a position where you're taking in some artificial dyes that sometimes they wind up coloring the salmon. If you look at farm raised salmon, they actually apply dyes to it to give it the color. And obviously, this is not compatible with us, right? We are allergic to that. Everybody's allergic to that. Okay, and the way that we express that is in terms of gas, in terms of bloat, all right, abdominal discomfort, indigestion. And we think that just because we're eating fish and we're eating protein, that's okay. So we have to be mindful about the quality of the protein that's going into our 80%. Now, the 20%, all right, we're talking if we're eating 7 days a week, 3 times a day, all right, that's about 4 or 5 meals a week that we have some flexibility on. Okay, and I encourage people, be flexible. Don't deprive yourself of the chocolate. If you like dark chocolate, have some dark chocolate. Just try to stay within that framework. I love chocolate cake. I love chocolate chip cookies. Okay, I bake. I enjoy baking. It's fun. I have a 10-year-old son. And one of the areas that we connect is on baking and making some treats. I will always tell you, I'd rather you go and take that 20% and have it be something that you bake in the kitchen versus you buy that's sitting on a shelf in a store. Okay, go and get yourself some really good quality organic flour. Okay, go out and get yourself some really good quality chocolate chips, right? Grass-fed butter, right? Get yourself, instead of doing normal table sugar, you have things like organic coconut sugar, which are much better in terms of our glycemic index, which allows our bloodstreams to not be soaked with sugar. All right, so that food, that sugar gets processed much better in our bodies and doesn't automatically turn into fat like so many of the other sugars and processed goodies that we consume. Puts our body in that position where we're not burning enough. Okay, and many of these foods our body doesn't necessarily know how to process properly, so we are in this constant state of inflammation. Okay, so 80/20, very important. If you're eating 21 times a week, then you want to make sure that 16 to 17 of those meals are the best meals possible. And I want you to strategically pace out or space out the 20%. Okay, so we're not crushing all of our 20% treat meals on the weekends, which so many of us do, and I was guilty of for a very, very long time, right? I don't want to pile it all on back to back to back on the weekend. Okay, so if I'm gonna do brunch on Saturday, then I know on Sunday I'm not gonna do the French toast. I'm not gonna do the uh, the pancakes. I don't care what season we're in. Maybe you do the steak and eggs instead of doing the pancakes, right? So just some ways for you to space it out so your body is not absorbing all of this extra inflammation, all the extra sugars that take any of the gains that you had that were going for you that week and just undoes it, right? So we don't want that. We're working really hard here in the gym, and we want the food that we put in our mouths to reinforce the kind of results that we want. All right. So again, 80/20. Find the meals that work great for you. I'm going to put some up in the second program. The second course that I put up is going to have a lot of recipes, okay? And I'm even going to do some videos of me cooking and preparing those meals for you, so you know exactly how to get it done. You have no excuses. All you got to do is just watch the video and you'll be able to see exactly how and what it is that you should be doing, okay? So after you after you click the off button here on this video, I want you to reflect. I want you to reflect and be honest with yourself. What is the percentage of really clean meals versus not clean meals that you're consuming? Is it 80/20? Is it 60/40? Is it 50/50? Okay, now that you have a framework for actual percentage, I want you to start making the adjustments. And I'm here to help. All right, love you. Talk to you again soon.